Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my performance review of the Anta Shockwave 6, which apparently was supposed to be Kyrie Irving's signature shoe, right? So a few of you guys were saying, I'm not 100% sure if it's true, but a couple of you guys were saying this was actually supposed to be Kyrie Irving's signature shoe, like the overall design, but then they changed it up obviously to be what the Kai one is supposed to be right now. But I could definitely see that being true, you know what I mean? This definitely looks like a Kyrie design, you know? But the Shockwave, you know, the Shockwave series is a really nice shoe line from Anta. And Anta, of course, is a Chinese company and the one that Kyrie Irving is signed to. And when Kyrie Irving kind of like had his thing with Nike and then left, and he went and signed with Anta, the Shockwave 5 is the shoe line that Kyrie Irving was wearing, right? Specifically the Shockwave 5 Pro until the Kai one came out. So yeah, this is the brand new shoe in the Shockwave line and it retails for 120 bucks over at Kick's Own. So if you guys do want to cop it, try to leave a link in the description box. But let's get it started off with the Tracciones, right? And in this colorway, we have this solid yellow rubber outsole, and we have a very aggressive herringbone traction pattern that kind of meets in the middle, in this like middle line of the outsole, right? But yeah, how's the traction? Is freaking phenomenal, guys, right? This was literally the shoe that had the best traction out of every single shoe that I was testing for the past couple weeks, right? For example, like the Freak 6. The Freak 6 has really good traction, but this just bites a little bit harder. It bites extremely hard. So if you're playing on a clean court, you're gonna have a good time and you're gonna be stopping on a dime, right? If you are playing on a dusty court, however, it does pick up a little bit of dust and you're gonna need to wipe just a tiny bit. But for the most part, it bit through dust pretty dang well. However, it was a little bit inconsistent from my experience, right? So when I was playing on a dustier court, if I let a little bit too much dust build up, which it's not that quick for the dust buildup, but if it did build up, I would slide out a little bit dangerously, right? So I didn't really like that all too much, but if I was keeping up with my wipes, I was good to go. So just be careful with the dust. If you keep up with your wipes, you should be fine, but it is going to pick up a little bit of dust, right? And also this shoe is freaking loud. It screams literally. It's like a really loud high-pitched squeak, which of course has nothing to do with performance, but for all the hoopers, including me, that like to have a very loud high-pitched squeak in their hoop shoes, this shoe is really, really loud, which I like, right? And also for durability, you should be good to go. I mean, the rubber is extremely freaking hard. The grooves are thick and also very deep. And they're calling this a DuraTrack Ultra Durable Rubber. So it's literally made for outdoor use. You should be fine playing on an outdoor court. And also another addition to the outsole that I really like is the outsole curvature, right? So if you look on the medial side, the rubber wraps around onto the medial side a little bit, giving you a little bit better grip when you're doing these types of movements, right? So Kyrie's doing crazy crossovers and cuts, so you get better grip when you're doing these types of movements versus, I don't know, a shoe that's a little bit more flat like this, right? So it's a little bit flatter. You don't really get as much grip doing these types of movements. So yeah, that feels very nice. That's a very nice addition, you know? So yeah, the traction is top tier in the Shockwave 6. And now moving on to the heel to toe transition, overall pretty dang smooth. Not super springy though, just a tiny bit, right? So here in the heel, we have a nice rounded shape and also exposed kind of like foam, right? And here in the forefoot, we have a nice rocker shape too. So just from the overall shape, it does feel pretty dang smooth. But also in the forefoot, it's really flexible, right? But we also have a little bit of springiness, you know? It's not super springy, like I said, comparing to, you know, a shoe that has a full-length carbon fiber plate like the WOW 11, the JB2, and stuff like that. But it also has a nice little bit of, you know, spring back, which does feel nice. Also, we do have a plastic mid-foot chain plate, so torsion support is good too. So overall heel to toe transition, when you're doing heel dominant strides down the court, it does feel very smooth, and out of your first step, it does feel a little bit springy. And now moving on to the cushioning setup. The cushioning setup overall is pretty nice, right? So if you are a guard, and obviously this shoe is geared towards guards or like a quicker player, you're gonna really like this cushioning setup because it's very responsive, right? But if you're looking for a lot of cushion, or if you want something crazy like a lot of bounce or a lot of compression or something that's super comfortable, this is not the best option, right? So first of all, as far as the foam goes, I'm not 100% sure what the red foam is on the outside of the shoe. This is just EVA foam probably. But yeah, it's not super nice, but I do like how it's exposed. You know what I mean? Like for example, in the Shockwave 5, it was all plastic and it was pretty stiff. It didn't really allow for a lot of compression in the heel, but with this we have an exposed foam kind of, and it has a little bit of compression, which I do like, right? Also, the core feel is extremely good, right? So for all the shoes that I was testing with my rotation, like for example the Big 3 5.0 Pro and also the Giannis Immortality 4, the Freak 6, I would say this had one of the best court feels out of like all the shoes that I've been testing, right? So it has extremely good court feel. Overall impact protection is pretty good, right? So if you're doing kind of like, you know, jump shots and like step backs, overall just like playing, you should be fine for impact protection, right? But if you're doing really hard impacts, right, going up for a rebound and landing really hard, your feet are gonna hurt a little bit. So just be careful with that. Again, it's not terrible. I would say it's adequate for impact protection, and I would say it's like on par with all the other shoes that have, you know, like really good core feel and, you know, like all the rest of the guard shoes, right? So adequate impact protection overall. Also for the step and comfort is pretty nice, right? So first of all, the insole kind of sucks. It's a really thin insole, kind of looks like styrofoam, you know? So that's not that nice, but underneath that we have a pretty soft strobe board, right? It looks like a normal type of strobe board, you know? And when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that kind of sucks, you know? Because if you look at the Shockwave 5 Pro and like the Kai 1, the Zap 1, literally every single hoop shoe from Anta, they all have like a soft mesh strobe board, right? But Shockwave 6 doesn't have that, but it does have, it's not super glued down. You know what I mean? So you can feel the foam right underneath your foot. And it is using full length N2 foam, which is the same, I guess like Anta uses N2 foam literally in all their hoop shoes. So yeah, in the heel, it feels pretty nice for underfoot cushion. Like I said, it is a thin foam because the core feels really good. So it's not amazing for stepping comfort, but for how low to the ground you are, it does feel pretty nice. And then in the midfoot, you can see the top-loaded midfoot shin plate. So in the midfoot, it is a little, you know, it's a little stiff there, and then the forefoot, it gets even thinner, so it's not that nice for stepping comfort, but I would say it's on par with the Shockwave 5. So yeah, you know, you have really good court feel, adequate impact protection, pretty good stepping comfort, like okay stepping comfort, and a little bit of compression here in the heels. So yeah, it's a really nice responsive cushioning setup. And I say really nice as in like, it's a good combination of responsiveness and impact protection, because you know, with other shoes, like cheaper shoes that use really crappy cushion, like if you look at those shoes, the impact protection is terrible even though the core feels really good, right? So I feel like with the Shockwave 6, they kind of blended all of that together pretty well to give a really good cushioning setup for people who want to be a little bit quicker, right? So there's the cushioning setup there. Moving on to the upper. So the upper is pretty dang interesting too. So yeah, it's a really thin upper. Just look at that. It's a really thin and very soft upper, and I really like how it feels on foot, especially here in the toe box, right? So they're calling it an expansive mesh with string tech, and it literally has string kind of like embroidered in this grid pattern here in the toe box, and also on the lateral and medial side of the shoe. And there's a lot of embroidery on this shoe too, right? But yeah, here in the toe box, it's extremely thin. There are some underlaying materials and also an overlay of synthetic around the tip of the toe for better durability and support. But yeah, I really like this here in the toe box, and overall it's really soft, but then it doesn't really stretch too much, which I think is pretty dang good for support. But one thing I really like what they did is they put a pretty prominent like leather material over the eyelets, you know, here on the lateral and medial side. So it really improves the support of the overall upper, especially when you're doing lateral movements, right? If this was a really soft, like thin material, it would be very, very soft and it would move around a good amount, right? But with this, it stiffens it up a little bit, especially here in the midfoot, kind of comes here and thickens up, like gets a little bit wider here in the forefoot, right? So it actually adds a good amount of support, especially when you're doing lateral movements, which we'll get into in support. But anyways, there's that. Also, we have like an average amount of padding. It feels pretty plush on top of your foot for the tongue. It's also a half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. And then for pretty much literally all of the eyelets, they're all straps that go down into the upper, right? So the laces, and also the laces are pretty interesting. It's a really thick kind of flat flat lace, which is pretty dang nice. I feel like that the quality is pretty good for that. We have some more embroidery here on the tongue and also in the midfoot area. Like, look at that. That's a lot, you know? And then here in the heel, we have pretty minimal padding, like an average, like less than average, I would say, on the sides, but in the back, there's a little bit more padding. And then here in the back of the shoe, we have this like kind of synthetic material with this crazy pattern, as well as like this external heel counter. It's like plastic. So yeah, I really like the overall upper. I mean, as far as like how it feels for the quality, I wouldn't say it's the best for quality, but definitely doesn't feel super duper cheap. Durability wise, I would be a little bit worried, however, because it is just so thin here in the toe box. But overall, it feels really nice on foot, right? It's really minimal here in the toe box, but does feel overall pretty dang supportive and kind of cozy for the tongue and a little bit cozy in the back of the shoe. So I really like the upper material, especially on foot. And also, obviously, we have this crazy piece on the lateral side for lateral support. But as far as the fit goes, I went true to size and this shoe fits me perfectly, right? So lengthwise, it's a very nice fit lengthwise, right? My toes go very close to the edge of the shoe. Also here in the toe box, it's a slightly snug fit, which I do like. It's not super snug, but also it did get a little bit, it stretched out a little bit. So the toe box got a little bit roomier, but also for the width, I'd say it's around normal to slightly narrow width. So it's a very nice width for me personally, right? It's not super snug, but it feels snug enough to where my foot's not moving around inside of the shoe, right? Also for the midfoot, it's around normal width too. So it's a really nice snug fit for me, going true to size. And if you want the same kind of like pretty nice snug fit, then go true to size. If you have a wide foot, probably go up half a size. And now moving on to the support and lockdown. I mean, yeah, if you're gonna be making a shoe for Kyrie, you have to have good lateral containment, of course, right? He's doing crazy crossovers and stuff. He's doing crazy lateral movements, so he needs that. So yeah, I mean, like I said, with this kind of like synthetic material over the eyelets, that makes the overall upper a lot more supportive. And also we have a little bit more embroidery here in the forefoot, and also the foam coming up a little bit, acting as a sidewall here in the forefoot. And also obviously here in the midfoot, we have a little bit of plastic here with this pretty crazy design. And then here in the heel, we have this kind of like external heel counter, right? So overall lateral containment, I had zero issues, and the upper didn't really feel unsupportive at all. I actually had pretty good support. And also for lateral stability, I was good to go, right? There's no crazy outrigger or anything, but it does protrude out a good amount here in the forefoot, giving you a wide and stable base. And also I had zero issues with lockdown, right? My heel was locked into the shoe. The only thing I didn't like is this part right here. Right, so this part of the shoe comes up a good amount and kind of curves in a little bit. And although there is padding, when I was like obviously just walking or jogging and actually playing, it would rub against like my Achilles. And I don't know why they made this part so freaking high. And usually with modern shoes, they have a heel tab which kind of comes up like this and curves back, you know? But this kind of curves in, not back. So it would just dig into my Achilles, and it didn't hurt my Achilles, but it was rubbing the skin there and it did start to bleed. So that is definitely uncomfortable. That's the only thing I didn't like. But other than that, support and lockdown is very, very good. And now moving on to the weight of the shoe. If I remember correctly, this shoe was pretty dang light, right? 11.05 ounces. Let's check the other shoe. 11.2 ounces, right? So yeah, the average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces. So this shoe is like 1.5 ounces lighter than average, which is pretty dang light. And yes, this shoe feels really light and also very minimal, right? Especially because of the upper, but also you feel extremely quick, lightning quick when you're playing in it because the traction is freaking amazing. I love the outsole curvature as well. It just gives you really nice fluidity, but also the overall shoe is pretty dang supportive and springy, and you are very low to the ground. So yeah, it's a really responsive feeling shoe, and if you want to feel quick and if you're a guard, this is a great option, right? And now moving on to ventilation. Ventilation is really nice. You know, like I keep saying, this material is extremely thin, especially here in the toe box, so you have very good airflow. And now moving on to the aesthetics, I like it now. I mean, in my first impressions, I didn't really like it, but I feel like it's growing on me. It's growing on me a good amount. Not a huge fan of the colorway though. I think there's too many crazy colors, but I do like the overall design a little bit more. I'm not saying it's my favorite or anything. I feel like it looks okay now, you know? So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, this is a great option. The only thing about the shoe I didn't like is this part, which made me bleed a little bit. But other than that, like, it's a great performing hoop shoe, especially for guards. If you're quick and you want to feel quick and you want a shoe that feels extremely lightweight, then this is one of the best shoes that you can get right now. You know what I mean? And yeah, obviously, if you're a bigger dude or you want a little bit of cushion from your shoe, this definitely is not the best option. But if you want something very good for court feel, adequate for impact protection, traction amazing, outsole curvature added bonus, upper is super minimal, but also the overall shoe is super duper supportive, this is an amazing option and I really enjoyed playing in this shoe. Also, another thing to watch out for, of course, is dust. You know, you can slide out. It's a little bit inconsistent on dust, like I said, but if you do keep up with your wipes, you should be fine. So yeah, this is a great option. And honestly, I definitely feel like, why wasn't this Kyrie Irving's first in your shoe with Anta? Because when you look at the Kai 1, the Kai 1's really soft. Like, the cushion is really soft and it definitely is not as low to the ground as the Shockwave 6. So I definitely feel like this would have been a better option for responsiveness, especially for Kyrie. But maybe, you know, since Kyrie's getting older, he wants a little bit more cushion. Maybe that's why he picked the Kai 1. I don't know. Either way, this is still an amazing shoe, especially for guards, and I really enjoy playing it. So anyways, that about concludes my performance review of the Anta Shockwave 6. Again, if you guys do want to cop, try to leave a link in the description box, but that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.